Hi there, this is David and welcome to the top 10 best fan-translated JRPGs. But first, before we get started, I just have a little bit of housekeeping to go over. First of all, this list is not going to include a lot of the really famous translated games, such as Final Fantasy 2, 3, or 5, or Dragon Quest 5 and 6, because, hey, they were later officially translated, even though they weren't released on their original systems. It's also not going to include games such as Terranigma, because that was released in English, but just in Europe. It's also not going to include some lesser-known games such as Tales of Phantasia R, or Saga 2 and 3 for the DS, because these are actually remakes of games where we did get the original released in America, just not the remake. This list is strictly Japan-only games that had to be fan-translated to see the light of day in English. So, without further ado, let's get started. Number 10, Nayuta Endless Trails. Released on the PSP in 2012, this is a sweet action RPG, kind of like the love child between the action of the Ys games and the story of the Legend of Heroes games. You assume the role of Nayuta, and you go exploring a world called Lost Heaven, which consists of 4 continents, but the seasons are out of whack. Once you clear the continent and restore it to its former season, you can go through the stages again and find more hidden secrets. Whirlpools may change to quicksand, or lakes may freeze over depending on the season, kind of like Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons. There's tons of objectives to accomplish in each stage, which keeps the game fresh and challenging. Also, you don't run through the same stage 4 different times, but each time there are different enemies, more treasures, special skills, and magics to find, tons of other secrets to uncover. Also, did I mention, the game is absolutely gorgeous. Number 9, Dragon Quest Monsters Caravan Heart. Released for the Game Boy Advance in 2003, this is a mixed bag of Dragon Quest-y goodness. It stars Kiefer of Dragon Quest VII fame while taking place in the world of Dragon Quest II, and featuring monsters to catch from all the classic games released up to that point. It's a joy to experience and actually has a good storyline as compared to the previous Dragon Quest Monsters games. Each chapter, you're free to explore a continent, revisit familiar locales such as Moonbrook Castle, and solve the residents' problems. Also, there's a recruitment system where you can enlist NPCs to join your caravan, and as you do, they impart powers to your party, such as the ability to see a larger map, deal more damage to enemies, or heal your party. Any Dragon Quest fan will be pleasantly surprised by the polish that went into this gem. Number 8, Treasure of the Rudras. Released on the SNES in 1996, this is an odd bird. At first glance, you might think that it's just another Final Fantasy clone, but you'd be wrong. The game follows 3 heroes on their separate journeys to stop a never-ending cycle of death and rebirth of humanity. The story begins just 2 weeks before humanity is destined to perish. That's all the time that you have. The mood is somber, and it fits the story well. Also different is the magic system. By speaking to people, reading books, or finding treasure, you learn different mantras or key words, and these mantras are actually spells, which you can then modify with prefixes and suffixes to enable them to do different things. For example, Ig is the fire spell, but if you add Lus to the end of it, it becomes more powerful. The system is addictive and unique, and the storyline enthralling. I couldn't put this one down. Number 7, The Magical Land of Woz. This lovable, innovative game for the SNES was released in 1995. At the start of the game, you choose from one of 3 heroes to be your main hero, each with their own powers and wildly different personalities. While the other 2 characters will join your party as well also, this choice leads to a lot of replay value, because each playthrough changes depending on who your hero is, scenes, dungeon progression, storytelling, and the ending all play out differently depending on who you choose. Woz is a light-hearted comical game similar to Earthbound. The instruction manual even came with a comic book based on the heroes. You can invent different items and weapons, even different modes of transit to traverse the world, such as tanks and airships to steamroll your way through Woz. Number 6, Treasure Hunter G. Released on the SNES in 1996, this is a tactical RPG that follows the adventures of 2 brothers, Red and Blue, who you might remember from Saga Frontier. Anyway, they're looking for their father and later are joined by a girl, Rain, and a monkey, Ponga. RPGs need more monkeys. Anyway, the graphics in this game are insane. It looks like a PS or N64 game, and while the world is small, painstaking detail went into it. You can interact with pretty much every little thing in the environment, from barrels to flowers to beehives. You can use anything in your arsenal to win the battles before you, because let me tell you, this game can be hard, but it's incredibly rewarding and a joy to play through. And did I mention, it has a monkey? Number 5, Bahamut Lagoon. Released on the SNES in 1996, Square was on a roll in the 90s with many classics that never saw the light of day in the West, weren't they? It's such a shame because this could be the proverbial jewel in their crown, and to make matters worse, they never really revisited this IP. The music and graphics are top-notch, probably the best that I've seen on the SNES. Like Treasure Hunter G, this is a tactical RPG, but whereas that game was lighthearted, Bahamut Lagoon is much more grandiose and serious. You can also interact with the environment to win battles by setting fire to forests and freezing rivers. This allows many paths to victory, and you'll want to play through multiple times because there are many different choices to make that affect your relationships with the characters and the overall ending of the game. There's also a new Game Plus feature like Chrono Trigger. This is definitely a must-play. Number 4, Seiken Densetsu 3. Released on the SNES in 1995, this is the true sequel of the critically acclaimed classic Secret of Mana. Except that instead of one storyline with 3 characters, now we get 3 different storylines with 6 different characters, and in addition to that, each character has 4 final classes that they can ultimately change into. This allows for a metric ton of replayability. There is a misconception floating around the internet that we got Secret of Evermore in lieu of Seiken Densetsu 3, but that's simply not true. An issue of Nintendo Power stated at the time that the main obstacles were technical issues, bugs, and the cost of the translation. But let's let bygones be bygones. There's also an intricate day-night system where your powers change depending on the day of the week, though it's nothing compared to the next game on our list. Number 3, Tengai Macao Zero. Released on the SNES in 1995, this game is a gem, and similar to Woz, it doesn't take itself too seriously. I found myself laughing out loud quite a bit during this game. There were tons and tons of secrets for the avid explorer, and an added graphics chip to put this game on par with many Game Boy Advance and PlayStation RPGs. But the real game changer here, literally and figuratively, is the real-time event system. Upon starting the game, you must manually put in the time and date, and the game takes this into account. Many shops are only open on certain days, and sales occur at different times of day. Towns change depending on whether it's night or day in real life. You can receive gifts for your real-life birthday, the world's nations throw festivals such as the New Year's celebration in January, and a crane watching festival in August. There's so much love packed into this sweet game, it's a wonder it doesn't have more of a cult following. Number 2, Trails of Zero. Released on the PSP in 2010, this is a massively huge game from the Legend of Heroes series. This game bridges the gap between Trails in the Sky and Trails of Cold Steel. It's the missing link, if you will. The game follows a special branch of the Crossbell Police Department as they struggle to keep order in their city and keep their nation independent from the 2 neighboring foreign powers of Calvar and Erebonia. Featuring classic 2D gameplay with plenty of cameos from both the Sky games and the Cold Steel games, it's no wonder this is widely heralded as the best arc in the series. However, as of publishing of this video, its sequel, Trails of Azure, hasn't been translated yet to complete the arc, but hopefully we'll get that released soon. And finally, number 1, Mother 3. More monkeys! Released in the Game Boy Advance in 2006, this is the fabled sequel to Earthbound. Could any other game really be number 1? The premise of the game is extremely interesting and well done. I've never really seen anything like it before. You begin in a small village where everybody works together and money is unheard of. Then as the game progresses, capitalism slowly encroaches and changes the people's way of life. It's intriguing and very well done. The storyline employs a chapter system which really allows you to follow along with the changes that take place throughout your village. It's heartwarming and a touching and a classic masterpiece of a game that completes the Mother franchise story. If I did have to nitpick one little thing, it would be the rhythm battle system, where you're encouraged to press the A button along with battle music, and doing so would allow you to accumulate more hits. But this is pretty difficult when you're emulating the game, but I really can't fault that, the game for it. because I'm sure it worked perfectly on its native hardware. Well, these are my top 10 best fans-translated RPGs that I've played. What are yours? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments. And as always, if you like this, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good day.